Yo, y'all. It's cocktail hour. We're back, and it's the Halloween show, and we're very, very excited. We're coming at you with an action-packed show. Yes, we are. So, I'm Andy.
Hi, I'm Sherry. I'm ready for an action-packed show.
That's right.
Colette and yo, y'all. I'm
Yo.
all of my meetings and conversations with that.
I think in a business setting, it's especially effective. Yo, y'all!
Actually, I do
Let's
that.
look at this PowerPoint.
That's right. I actually do that to my boss when I do the Skype thing, Skype business, you type a thing, I'll go, yo, with an exclamation point. She's like, yeah, I always know it's you when I see yo pop up. I don't even have to look for the name. So that's how we roll.
Good.
Yeah, man.
It's good.
Pick you out of the crowd. So
I hope that when your evaluation comes, you get something like funky fresh.
Yes. Yes. That's right.
Fresh with a PH.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's fat with a PH and funky fresh. So, all right, let's talk about something we're drinking, because clearly some of us are drinking and some of us aren't.
That's normal.
I know.
Yeah,
Colette, what do you drink? What are you drinking?
So what the hell's the name of this? I went to a distillery last month, and
you made it out?
yeah,
yeah, but it was like 3 days later.
this is like the first trip out of the house where I sat somewhere, like
Wow.
in the last year and a half.
Mm.
Like, I have become master of takeout and cooking things in the house. Like, I don't go places, and I don't let people breathe on me or touch stuff that's going to go in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
And like public restrooms, or I'm a freak now. I'm a total freak.
With a PH.
I win PH. So I went to a distillery and sat there. Now, it helped that it was completely empty.
Oh, yeah, that would.
Yeah, so they made a drink. I think it's called the penicillin. Anyway.
Nice.
That's it, huh?
So it's basically like a ginger lemon drop.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Delicious.
And you do like that. You like ginger. You like
I do.
ginger. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I prefer ginger over Marianne. So, but you have to share.
I disagree with you.
I do too. Yeah. I'm all about Lovey Howell.
I like the shallow people. You'll have to share that recipe, because I might like to try it. I have ginger, I have lemon, and what's the other thing?
So it's got rye.
Mm-hmm. Got that.
Lemon juice.
Got it.
Domaine de Canton.
Got that.
Of course.
And something else, probably. I don't know.
That's not.
But I will. I'll find it and I'll send it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my little ass has been cooking all kinds of things. I'm doing mostly baking. I mean, I have tried some actual entrees and savory dishes, but
What are your cookies?
That sounds like a personal question.
There was a video, you guys, where this guy had made this. It was like a cookie scone. I mean, when he put it in his hand, his big old man hands, it like almost filled up his entire hand. I'm thinking, what the hell? So I thought, okay, I have every bit of these ingredients. Let me try it. And I even had, stuff at room temperature. Did everything he said. Made these cookies. They look great. They actually taste great. The problem is they were dry as a damn bone. Oh. They're like a coffee cookie. Like, you have to crack that thing up in quarters and put it in your coffee and drink and eat it at the same time. It was super dry. And I follow the instructions. So Mom said, you should have kept the rest of them, and you could crush it up like cookie crumbs and make a pie shell out of it. I'm like,
that's a good idea.
I'm like, well, thanks for telling me that after I threw out the damn cookies.
Mm-hmm. What are you drinking? Oh, sorry.
Well, she's having wine, right?
Yeah, I'm having.
She hadn't
I like how
anybody.
she's having wine. Now I'm having Witching Hour Red Blend. And I was telling the gang before we started recording, I can't get sloshed. Look at, I'm already one sip. Yeah, anyway, because I have to make pumpkin bars. I'm actually making them from scratch, including cooking the pumpkin
With meat.
Yeah, meat in the food processor.
But pumpkin meat, not
pumpkin meat, not ground up
meat.
chicken. No,
what I had assumed initially.
I mean, this is the Halloween show, and you just don't know.
So I was gonna say, like, if you're getting excited about pumpkins, I have this amazing like freestyle recipe for stuffing.
What?
Basically, get a small pumpkin, right?
Yeah.
Like one of those pie pumpkins,
right? Like I got,
yeah.
You cut the top off and you take all the lucky guts out, right?
Yeah.
And then basically at that point you start filling it up with good stuff, right? So like pieces of bread and
you mean like regular, like stuffing stuff? Okay.
Goat cheese,
and
then maybe some. Like I would probably put in some sausage, maybe some sage sausage and some rice, or you could put in turkey, like celery, chop up pieces of fennel, chop up carrot.
That sounds really good.
Fill that effing pumpkin, right? And then you just bake it. So what happens is all the stuff gets cooked inside the pumpkin, and then the actual pumpkin cooks. And then by the time you take it out, it's incredible.
That sounds really good.
Oh, I'm going to have to try that. That sounds awesome.
And it's really just like whatever you got in your freezer, whatever you got in your fridge that you want to put.
Oh, man, I want to try that. Great idea. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm having water. I'm having some black cherry water in my bountiful tea tankard. All right. So there. We're done with that.
Jumped ahead. I was going to ask, but, apparently she wants to get this show on the damn road.
Well, we are dawdling.
Yeah, we are.
Probably sort of purposely putting off talking about Charles Manson.
Well, I mean, we have a lot to talk about. But
yes, we do.
I want to thank the generous folks who have donated. I just want to let you know, through your donations, we're able to get both Colette and Andy an annual subscription to Scribd, which is really the only time that either of them use it is for books for the show. So that was super helpful.
Mostly, yeah, that's true.
And once we get enough saved up for one more, I'll go ahead and get one. But I get a lot of my stuff from the library. This would just make it a lot more convenient for us to all read the same thing. So thank you very much. And if you want to chip in, feel free to head over to the YouTube channel, and there's a little link. The little link.
I love the link. Love the link.
The little link.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Any more housekeeping? No?
Housekeeping.
Okay. So I think this is going to be an amazing show. We're talking about Jeff Guinn's book, Manson, The Life and Times of Charles Manson. And I know Sherry and I am not sure about college. Is that your stomach or is that a dog?
I need to see a doctor.
Yeah, right. I know she's got worms. Check her for worms. Sherry and I know, watched was it 4 or 6 part series Helter Skelter on Epix?
6 part.
6 part. Did you get to see that, Colette?
I did.
Oh, good. So I think it's probably going to be really cool to kind of blend all this information together. Jeff Guinn's book was almost, it seemed like close to entirely covered in that Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got pictures in Helter Skelter. Seriously. Oh, guilt is a good selling factor. Isn't that true? So, dudes, who wants to start out talking about this amazing amount of material?
I will. I'll start. So, I don't know, I had like 7 hours left. So I was probably like 7 or 8 hours in. I was probably about halfway done. And I just, I couldn't get into the book anymore. I'd already read it once. I mean, I
Yeah.
listened to it once, so I didn't feel too bad about going off and trying to find some additional information. So that's when I found that documentary series. So I watched that, and then I also watched a couple of just short like interview type things that have happened, I don't know, like in the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
and 90s with a couple of different family members.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just wanted to throw that out there that I know, Colette, you said this is your second time through. Andy, this has got to be your third or fourth.
Second or third or fourth. Yeah, I've listened
Because
to
I
it.
think you listened to it once and then you immediately listened to it again.
Yeah,
the first time.
Yeah. I was really fascinated by the not necessarily Manson's life, but the times that all of this transpired, which, I was too young to appreciate some of it clearly, but it's almost like a walk back in history, the way it's laid out. It's so fascinating. I had to listen to it twice. I mean, just listen to it back to back.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that Guinn does a really good job of, is he really sets the scene as far as socio-political goings on during the late 60s and 70s. He gives a really good historical view of not only Manson's life, but his grandparents and his mother and aunt and uncles. So I mean, this is it's not so much. The thing that I was more interested in this time around wasn't really the focus of the book. For me, I was more interested in the actual cult itself, and how these young women and really came to be a part of this, and Guinn does do a great job of talking about how Manson just emotionally manipulates these, and he's a smart dude, right? I mean, he's not just some little shithead. Okay, so one of the things that I thought was really interesting about him is how he studied Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I think that right there changed everying.
Yeah,
right?
You couple that with Scientology, and that's a dangerous mix.
And that was interesting too. That he kind of studied Scientology, but didn't really buy into it.
No, he didn't. But he didn't finish Carnegie either.
Right. He didn't buy into any of it, but he learned what he could from that in order to manipulate other people.
How to benefit himself. Yeah.
You could say that started when his grandmother was making him go to church, because he didn't buy into that either.
No.
Right.
But he sure did get enough of revelations to figure out.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true.
Just thinking about that, he really didn't have any beliefs, did he?
Just himself.
Outside of his ability,
being an entitled white man, that's about
Yeah, outside of his ability to manipulate, outside of his own abilities and his belief that he was destined to be a rock star. I don't think he really had any, he had no core belief system.
No, I think he worshipped at the Church of Charlie.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Yeah.
And everybody else better too.
Yeah.
And they did mostly. It's interesting that the men, for the most part, the men were only there to screw the women.
Well, and drugs, yeah. Sex and drugs.
But if the drugs if the women weren't there and it was only the drugs, they wouldn't have stuck around. Not the followers so much, but like Dennis Wilson
or the straight Satans, or
They were there. They were there to have sex with random young, dirty, stinky women.
Yeah, just so you know, the Great
Young.
Students were a motorcycle gang. They were, I
That,
guess,
yeah,
you know, of the Hell's Angels stripe.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going to say, Colette, before I rudely cut you off?
Well, okay. So the first time I read this book kind of blew my mind, right? Because I came of age with scary Helter Skelter Charles Manson, who, you know, at the time, I don't think that anybody was prepared to accept that somebody like some completely amoral person was out there with a pack of followers that were absolutely ready to kill you for no reason other than Charlie said so. I mean, people grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And I mean, he is kind of the boogeyman of white people.
Well,
right?
Maybe.
You know, non-white people kind of have their own sort of cultural boogeymen. But Charles Manson terrified the white middle class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did most definitely. I would think that he grew in mythology over the decades.
Right?
For sure.
So, I mean, yeah, he terrified people up until the day he died.
It's true.
Yes, and the mythology stayed with him, in my opinion, until Jeff Guinn's book came out. Once I read that, I was like, what the fluckety fuck? I was just like, oh, I don't even want to see hear any more Manson. I'm done. I mean, just because he dug in there and dispelled the myth of Manson and his cult.
Right.
He broke it down so that you understood exactly what happened. And once you understand exactly what happened, it blows that mythology out.
Yeah, he's just a dude, right? And so I found that really instructive the first time I read this book. And I agree that Guinn spends a lot of time talking about other things that are going on in the era, other things that are going on in Los Angeles, other things that were going on in Haight-Ashbury at the time that end up entwining throughout this story. And it's very useful. And you walk away, it's completely demystified for you, and you understand what caused Charles Manson to become what he was and ultimately what he was.
Yes.
So I was not prepared this time to pick up this book and get so angry.
Really? Do tell.
Yeah. And a lot of it is that a lot of what was happening then is happening now. There's a lot of parallels with the general chaos in the street, people protesting police brutality, riots.
The other coming to get the white people. Yeah.
Right. So, so that felt super familiar. And this cult figure, right, who emerges as, I'm going to save you all. You guys need to be afraid of the other. The other is coming for you. But don't worry.
Evangelical Christians?
No, Trump.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
our newest cult, really.
Right.
Yeah.
The one that has 30% of the population,
which is frightening,
completely friggin' brainwashed.
Yeah,
right?
like ridiculously. You're right.
So at the time, right, I think that people were kind of amazed that this little shrimpy dude was
he was only 5'2".
Yeah.
I knew that he was short, but I didn't realize he was that short.
Yeah, I think that's why he had to have such a presence, right? Because remember, he went to reform school and was getting raped on the regular. So I think he figured out a way to be bigger than he was, in the same way that, like, cats puff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. Right. So I think people were really freaked out that this little guy had all of these women, like this harem. But
yeah, that was even fascinating as to how he was able to keep these women around him. I mean,
But
for the long haul. I mean, some of them left. I'm not going to say they didn't.
Yeah.
But he found women who were broken.
And he learned that from the pimps in prison.
Yeah.
Right. So that was interesting too, is, he spent the vast majority of his life. Well, really, he really spent the vast majority of his life in jail or prison. So, he was in jail and, learned to play guitar, learned how to be a pimp, learned how to manipulate people, and that's what he searched for. He searched for young, damaged, so insanely young.
Like I mean, Diane Lake was 14.
Yeah.
Oh, and she was interviewed several times for that.
And that,
documentary.
She wrote a book.
Oh, I didn't read her book. But
did she?
Did she?
Oh, that's what I think they mentioned that in one of the interviews, didn't they? So this interview, it's called Helter Skelter, an American Myth or something like that. Charles Manson, the American Myth. So it's on Epix, which is, you can get, if it's not part of your cable package, you can pick it up. You can pick up 6 months of it for $15
with Stars. I think I get it as part of Stars.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those cheap, shitty streaming services that you can't find anything that's not 10 years old.
Yeah.
And they do have a few originals, and this was one of them. It was worth it.
It's definitely worth it if you've ever read Vincent Bugliosi's Helter Skelter. If you have listened to Jeff Guinn's book and you really found that fascinating or interesting or entertaining, whatever the hell, the thing that really surprised me about that miniseries on Epix is that is the first time I have ever seen colored pictures of the murder victims. Because even Vincent Bugliosi's book, they white it out. It's a black and white picture, and they white out the victim, but you get to see what's
surrounding it. Like a white blob in the center of the black and white photo, which was odd.
Yeah, it is. But that's how it was presented, and I can understand why it was done that way back in the day. Nowadays, we're all a little more hardened, But I had never seen colored pictures of those victims, and I got to tell you, it was like a gut punch. Because you can read everything about this, all the details, the autopsy report, everything. But until you see those pictures, it doesn't hit as hard as when you see it. I almost cried, man. Almost cried just looking at those pictures of all the victims. It didn't matter who they were. I didn't have any special favorites or anything. But it was just so... surprising. I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. There's a bit off topic, but there's a documentary. Now I can't remember what it was called, but it's World War I, where it's been the footage has been colorized.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, they were something. I don't remember what it was, but I haven't watched it, but it's on my list. And every time I see it someplace, I'm like, oh, I really need to watch that. Oh, you're gonna and there's just such a difference of seeing, black and white photos or images compared with seeing color, because that's so far removed from our experiences. It's history.
They shall not grow old.
Yes, thank you.
Jolting, I think, was the word. Jolting. It's jolting to see colorized versions of things historical that you've watched or read about.
Yeah. Because then it's real. Then those are people that you could pass on the street.
Right, exactly.
They're not, some historical document.
That could be your neighbor, your friend. Right, exactly.
Exactly. So I can absolutely see how seeing those murder victims in color,
Yeah.
it just brings it home.
It
Those
does.
are real people. And I had the same kind of reaction looking at like the pictures of, they showed a lot of pictures of like Abigail Folger and the other victims that I'd heard their names, and I've seen like that one picture where the Abigail Folger, where she's got the little babushka on. It's hard to identify that as a young woman, but then some of the pictures that they were showing, and I had to stop because I was doing other stuff. So I was listening, but I wasn't watching 100% of the time. But at those moments when they were showing those images, I did have to stop and go, holy shit, she was a young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. And and I think getting older also changes how I see different events, right? Like I can watch something that I watched when I was in my 20s and have a completely different reaction to it now. Life experience really changes a lot of that too. So maybe when we were kids and the shit was going on, and you don't feel it as much, but now it's like, oh fuck, that could have been me. And having somebody lose their life in their 20s or in their teens, or having my kid is 17. If I had, I mean, who knows what it, or I, as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, I could have found myself in that exact same situation. I mean, hello, daddy issues. And that's, that was one of the things that he specifically preyed on.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I made, this is the first time in a long time I've made a lot of notes.
Oh, wow. I'm going to turn on the light, by the way.
Okay.
What?
I think it's dark. I think it's dark. So one of the things that Colette and I were talking about while Andy was struggling to make a link work was, so Charles Manson was convicted on, what was it, 7 counts of murder, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
And I had mentioned that, he really, outside of the one pimpy dude that he killed,
lots of papa.
I could never remember that name. I'm like, oh,
lots of papa.
I don't know how you forget lots of papa, but yeah,
I don't know.
He didn't die.
But then
he thought he did, though.
He didn't die
because he was an idiot. He also thought he was a Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yes.
Black.
What a goofball.
All the Black people are Black Panthers in the 60s. I thought everybody knew that.
Oh,
so Charles Manson never actually murdered anybody.
No, but
that
he
we
was
know of. But
no, yeah, I agree. But it's interesting.
He sure did rape a lot of people, though.
He did rape a lot and beat a lot of people and stabbed people, and and
there was a lot of very random violence. But right, but there was a law in California at the time, right, which is why not only did he end up being convicted, but ended up getting sentenced to death.
Yep.
Was that basically if you were, I can't remember the name of the law.
You can't either, but it falls under like conspiracy, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you conspire to commit the crime, then you essentially committed the crime.
Right. Yeah.
So
which makes perfect sense, actually.
It does, absolutely.
I mean, and thank God that California had that law, because
otherwise
he had gotten off on a technicality that would have been terrifying.
Oh, yeah, that is terrifying.
It would have been. So some of the things that I had lots of papa. And Andy, you had mentioned that some of those women left.
Yes, a few.
Left the cult.
And a couple of the guys left too.
Yeah, a couple of guys left. A couple of the women left, and one of them was it Krenwinkel?
No, she
One of them
didn't
left,
leave.
and then Charlie went down and got her and brought her back, and she was like, "Oh shit, how do you know I was here?" You know, I guess I'll just go back.
It wasn't her, was it? It was somebody else. I think
It was
Squeaky, or it was
no. It was either
Susan
Krenwinkel or who was the other chick? Not Kasabian, the other one that did the Tate murders.
Well, so there's
No, she didn't do the Tate murders. No. She was with the LaBiancas. Damn, she's in prison now. What the hell is her name? I can't think of her name.
there was, who did they keep?
She was the one that was like the prom queen. What the hell was her name?
Yeah. I can see her in my mind. I can see her in my face. I swear I'm not drinking.
I am.
Okay.
I can't remember what.
Now I gotta look it up.
It was Leslie Van Houten.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were some of them, and that's something that really wasn't discussed a lot in the documentary, but there were kids. They were having kids all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's not really something that I think about when I think about the Manson family.
Yeah. No birth control. People
he wouldn't allow birth control
3 times a day. You damn well know there's going to be kids.
Yeah, kids and syphilis, apparently.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of both.
And gonorrhea, don't forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dynamic duo. Syphilis.
So there's lots of so one thing that I kind of got from the documentaries is some of these people didn't know about the other shit that they didn't seem to know about. About the murder and the robbing, and they would do what they call them with the creepy crawls or something like that.
It's kind of hard to believe, especially because what's her name? The nutball of the group of the Fab Four. What's her? Susan Atkins. That woman loved to brag and shoot her mouth off. It's hard to believe. And I know they can protest and, I didn't know. But it's hard to believe that. Now, they might have saw, she's just bullshitting. But I can almost bet, $5 on the fact that those folks knew, even if they didn't believe. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, and then there was, like Diane Lake got to a point where she's like, okay, no, I'm done. Who are the two that escaped? That wasn't Diane Lake?
No, that was like
escaped?
Stephanie Schramm and one of the others. I don't know. They all had so many names.
Yeah, and then they had nicknames too.
Right, that's the thing, right? It's like this person is called this, but we called her Slappy, and sometimes we called her,
we called her Snake, or we called her Somebody just had a name that was like a sound, right?
Was it Weesh or Whoosh?
Weesh, something like that. But they talked about that too, is that they would regularly change their names because it made it harder for people to locate them and identify them and things like that.
But their own personal identities are compromised too, if you think of it on a deeper level. Right?
That's true.
Because if you erase somebody's identity, they're mindless, and you're just going to fill them up with whatever the hell you want to fill them up with, and that's.
Well, then that's why you take them out into the goddamn desert.
Yeah, right, Barker Ranch.
Like the fact that some of these people were able to get away, legitimately get away and stay away, is amazing.
Yeah, but some
some of them escaped from Death Valley.
Yeah. To another cult, though, so we. But I don't know.
Are you talking about because they were born again Christians?
No. Some of them they're talking about leaving from Charlie to another guru. I don't remember who. Right. Yeah. So I didn't appreciate Barker Ranch and out in the desert until I went to Vegas. And when I was in Vegas, it was in fucking July. And let me tell you something.
Who goes to Vegas in July?
Even at 9:30 in the morning, you walk outside, you feel like you're breathing in an oven. And I'm like, I get outside for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I got to go in the hotel. I cannot be out here. It's too damn hot. I'm like, I'm melting on the street. I can't even. No, it's hotter out there. I can't even imagine what living on Barker's Ranch must have been like. I know what unmitigated hell I was in Vegas. And they didn't have AC out there. What the hell?
They didn't even have plumbing.
What the
they
hell?
Just wandered around in dirty clothes, barefoot.
Can you imagine the
had
smell?
worms or whatever? I don't know what the hell. Right? It's not like it was an attractive, exotic, exciting life. It sounded like everybody had worms.
Can you imagine the smell?
No,
I mean, think about your worst smelly day. I don't know, exercising or going and doing yard work or whatever the hell. But think about the day that you did whatever and you go, oh my God, I smell myself. I got to take a shower. Can you imagine smelling like that every single damn day? That there's no gap. I mean, I'm so skeeved.
For a month.
We talk about people that don't brush their teeth in these romance novels and they kiss definitely in the morning. And then can you imagine these same gross, scruffy people and these other guys come in thinking, let's have some free sex.
That's why there was so much drugs.
Oh, God.
That's why they had to be stoned all the time.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph Stone, seriously.
Okay, so one of the other things that made me angry this second go round is that, I don't think that I really paid attention through the first read at how shitty all the men in this book are.
Yeah, they're all pretty shitty.
All the men.
Even that girl's father. What the hell was his name?
Diane's father, who gave her away to Charles Manson at 14 and was like, go ahead if you want to go.
Yeah.
Right, because he was in another cult.
Yeah.
And
the commune.
Right, I'm sorry, the commune.
I don't know that it was like a legit cult because I don't know that there was a leader.
But the two people who owned the property or were heading up the commune didn't want Diane there because she was a sexually active 14-year-old. So they introduce her to two of the people that Charlie was with.
Yeah, they were like, why don't you go with them?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, you're jailbait. Go with these guys.
They'll
That's what they
because they seem nice.
Yeah,
they seem nice. And there's lots of women there.
Once I really started to think about it, right, I'm like, okay, who is the good guy in this story?
Not a damn person.
Well, guess what? Spoiler alert: it isn't Roman Polanski, the guy whose wife is horribly murdered, because he's a fucking rapist and pedophile too.
Yes,
that's right. Every time I saw him come up in the interviews, I had the same kind of response. I just kept thinking, yeah, you fuck 13-year-olds. I can't.
Okay, one guy, Stephen Parent, one of the victims. Stephen Parent seemed like a decent guy.
The guy who stole electronics.
No, he didn't steal electronics.
Yes, he did.
What? He did?
Yes.
How did I miss that?
God damn it.
His sister talked about, he was obsessed with electronics and he used to steal stuff all the time and then he would take it apart and put it back together.
Never mind.
Are you seriously? There's not a single good person. Oh,
well, okay,
so you've got Uncle Bill. Let's go back, right? So you've got Grandpa.
Uncle Bill, who made Charles Manson wear a dress
to school
when he was
in the
little,
first grade.
Because
I wrote
cried.
that down. Yes.
Yeah,
because he cried
seemed like
because
a good
the teacher was awful. Go ahead.
All right, wait. Before we get on this vein, which I think we should continue, but I think Peter Coyote summed it up really well in that epic series. He talked about how when the guys came back from World War II, a lot of them had PTSD, and of course they tried to self-medicate, right? Yep. And they had difficulties being relating to other people, and they drank more. They beat their wives. They had problems with their children.
Wasn't a thing.
Right. So they had problems, which contributed to a lot of these people leaving their homes as runaways because they couldn't take it anymore. And the reason I say that is Uncle Bill, I don't know, did he serve in a war? But
I don't
he
think
sounds
so.
suspiciously like somebody
Perhaps
that
an inner
might
one.
have been involved in something that would have given him PTSD. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't believe he did. He was he started out doing something and then got on with the railroad
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but he could
I
have been.
think
He was in the generation that could have been World War One, though, right? Or was he not?
but they never mentioned anything about him serving, and that was
No,
something
they didn't. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
So I don't think so.
yeah,
I think he was. They talked about how that generation and that location, right? They were very regimented with gender roles
Right.
and boys don't cry. You don't show any emotion at all. The dudes they go to work, they go out for drinks and buddy time after, they come home, they barely deal with the kids at all or anything like that. So I don't think I think that Uncle Bill that's what he thought
I think
would
he was
toughen him up.
probably a pretty normal guy of that era.
Region and time. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, because nobody seemed to have a problem with that.
Well, I mean, that was back in the time when it was absolutely acceptable to beat your wife.
Oh yeah, I mean, this was in
I still remember
40s, right?
watching I Love Lucy, where Ricky used to bend Lucy over his knee and spank her.
And spank her.
And that was absolutely fine and hilarious.
It gives you an uneasy feeling to look back and think about what we watched that was almost normalized in at least pop culture, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I mean, just to not even go back that far, before bed, I had been putting on The Simpsons, because Disney Plus has all of The Simpsons. So I started from the beginning. I had to stop watching because it's just like, I can't believe half of the shit that is happening on The Simpsons. It's horrible. I mean, there's so many
or
racism, specific, so much gay shit,
Really?
Yeah, and I don't remember any of that.
Because it started in like 1990 or something.
No, it was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was never a huge fan of The Simpsons, though. I tell you what, I got into was Family Guy. I don't know, that was just good enough to hold my attention.
But I had to stop watching. I didn't have to, but I stopped watching Family Guy once Quagmire's father had a sex change and all of the vomiting and horrible trans jokes.
Yeah,
I couldn't even watch it anymore. Every once in a while I'll turn it on, and when I'm needing something to watch before bed. But no, I can't watch it. It's just it's too much. So anyway, so back to this. So we had Uncle Bill, who absolutely, completely humiliates this. So he would be 7-year-old Charlie, because he came home crying because a teacher humiliated him and made him feel like shit. So Uncle Bill,
that was a shitty teacher too, by the way, and that
super
was a
shitty teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Who didn't like little boys, and he was new, and it was just awful. So instead of supporting the kid and dealing with it, he goes into his daughter's room, grabs a dress, and makes Charlie go to school the next day because that's going to toughen him up.
Yeah.
One of the other things that so Colette, you regularly bring up the incompetence of police when dealing with serial killers, and there were several things in both the book and the docuseries that discuss this. Like the Tate LaBianca murders were not linked to the Hinman case, even though an LAPD detective who had worked on the Hinman case contacted I'm sorry. So he was from Topanga County, the detective. He contacted LAPD and said, I think this is totally linked to the case that I was dealing with because of all of these similarities and all of this shit. And the LAPD is like,
blood on the walls. Yeah, right, exactly. Oh,
yeah,
no, it's not related. What the?
It's fine. This is a copycat.
If Susan Atkins hadn't confessed to some random chick in her cell, they would never have put it together.
No,
right?
No, I don't think they would either.
Then you had, and I don't know if this was discussed in the book, but the reporters who were talking about how they had never found the clothes that the murderers would have worn, you know, during the Tate LaBianca murders, because they had found out in one of the interviews or something that they had taken a change of clothes so that they could get out of their murder garb.
Wait, don't say it, because I'll let you finish it. But think about, if you apply your mind to, like, if I'm a killer and I know the changes of clothes was done, what would be your step if you retraced your steps, right? Where would the clothes go? The cops did not do this. So go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, so you've got reporters who did exactly that. They're like, well, nobody ever found the clothes, so they've got to be someplace. So they go out and they drive the route, and they go to the first fucking turnoff that would have been able to facilitate clothes changing, and everything is right fucking there.
Yeah,
and
like,
they're like, oh,
look.
here's some bloody fucking clothes, two different piles. So then they contact the police, and they're like, oh, cool, we'll be right there.
Yeah. So all right, and remember when they first roll up on Cielo Drive, Deputy Dog, whatever the fuck, wipes out the fingerprint, right? Wipes out Tex Watson's fingerprint on the button by pressing the button for the gate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll have to go in and see all the dead bodies.
How do you not see a bloody fingerprint? How do you not see it?
The cop who rolled up when that kid found the gun.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. I'm holding it by a pencil so that I don't disturb any prints. And the guy's like, give me that kid.
I love that kid and his dad. They watched enough, I don't know, Dragnet or whatever the cop show was on, that they knew to watch out for shit like fingerprints, and they were super careful. And they had to call the police how many times to get them to come out to get the damn gun?
Get them to come out and ruin the prints on there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, so the whole aspect of the cops and how, but this was in LA County and this was over here in this county, and those two counties don't talk. So, and when somebody said, I'm pretty sure that the LaBianca murders are probably, and they were like, nah. Just like the next night. I mean, why would they do it 2 nights in a row? That's crazy.
So many people do these types of things, and then oh my God, yeah. So police. So who solved the crime? Everybody but the police, essentially. And then you have that. Then you have that prosecutor who won't shut up and just.
Who actually gave his opening statement in print to the reporters, because reporters were not allowed in the courtroom. I mean, that was a good marketing PR for Vincent Bugliosi, but what the hell?
Okay, so then another thing that very apparent, there is a real correlation between what was going on then and what was going on now was the media.
Yes.
The media was super fascinated with Sharon Tate's murder and did not give 2 shits.
No, and that's sad. You're right.
No.
You're right. She was beautiful. She was a Hollywood actress. She was pregnant. So that's what they honed in on. But all the other folks that got murdered wouldn't have gotten headlines, let's face it.
Right. Right. So in some ways, the media is exactly the same as they were then.
Well, look at I don't want to, but there's a case right now in the media that you can't swing a stick without seeing some kind of a update on a young blonde woman that was on YouTube that was murdered.
Yep.
But if she were not a young, pretty blonde that was on YouTube, would it get that kind of coverage?
No, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of young, pretty Black women and young, pretty brown women and young, pretty Native American women who you don't see anything at all about.
No, like the Trail of Tears up in was it Canada, where all like back I think it was in the 70s or 70s and 80s, that scores of young Native American women went missing hitchhiking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, they're going missing now.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying, it did. I mean,
they're getting raped on reservations, and if crime happens on a reservation, then cops won't touch it.
No,
because it's out of their jurisdiction or whatever.
That's right. It's up to the law enforcement in the reservation to take care of it. Yeah.
It's just a friggin' mess. But there was so much about what was going on then that totally correlates with what's going on now.
Yeah, you're right.
In this cult of personality, and there just seems to be this theme with charismatic, and we'll just call them cult leaders because that's what they are, right? They're always dudes. They always have some sexualized relationship with underage girls. In this instance, Charlie Manson takes advantage of that and uses him as bait to bring in male members of the family and to attract people who he thinks he can get something from, like Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. He's not the good guy in this story.
He's not.
No, he's not.
No.
Neither I mean, you could argue that neither are his bandmates, considering, even if they said something, nothing drastically changed. So I'm assuming that even though they may have said, you know what, this isn't so hot, it still continued to happen. So I don't know how much influence they had. And who knows, I mean, I'm sure they were getting pot all over their, with their publicity. They probably had people throwing themselves at their feet. I don't know. It's kind of,
I mean, it was the Beach Boys. They were huge.
But they were on the way down by the late 60s.
Yeah.
Right, because Brian was...
What the hell was that?
I dropped my pen.
Oh.
It sounded like your femur cracked.
I know. I'm like, what the hell? Osteoporosis. Why?
Yeah. So Brian Wilson was incapacitated, and I don't think that the rest of the Beach Boys were ready to admit that Brian was the band.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
He really was.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Oh, can we talk about Charlie's music? That was the first time watching the docuseries. That was the first time that I had actually heard. And on the first time that they played it, I was like, oh wow, he's actually got a pretty nice sound.
It's decent.
But then later on in the series, they play more of it. I'm like, oh, this guy sucks ass. He's really not very good at all.
He just was decent. I mean, there wasn't, you know what I mean? When you listen to him, depending on the lyrics, I think you get a different opinion. But
I feel like
he could carry a tune. He could carry a tune, but he wasn't any great voice. Of course, I didn't think Frank Sinatra was a great voice either.
Some sort of crap open mic night folk.
I feel like
anybody.
That's why the LSD was so important. I think
maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
So I when I first started listening to it the second time, I was like, is this one of those ones where his mom pretended to be his sister and the grandma raised him, but no, that was Ted Bundy. But there's still, I'm wondering, I wonder if anybody
Bobby
has
Darin.
What?
And Bobby Darin.
Oh, but he wasn't a serial killer that we know of.
As far as we know.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any correlation between serial killers and very young, immature mothers. I
No,
wonder.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I think that
But-
was pretty common, right? Particularly in the Midwest, which is where his
Yeah.
family was. I think that was pretty common, right? His mom came from a very religious mother who was like a diehard in the Nazarene
Yes.
church.
Yeah, very
I mean,
entrenched.
it was basically fucking Footloose town, right? No dancing,
Right.
singing.
Yep. No. Yes.
Don't show anybody your shins, right? I mean, it was like
Oh,
super
come on, shins are
hardcore.
sexy. Come on now.
Yeah, but you
Right.
couldn't show them. That's the whole problem.
Right.
So you've got the rebellious
Right. So
mom.
she's a young teen and she goes out and likes to go to dance clubs and then
and they were the most incompetent
amazing.
incompetent criminals.
Well, and it's nice that she passed that on to her son.
Right.
You know what? I mean, you can't fault Kathleen in some respects because she did grow up under the thumb of a very domineering mother who saw everything in black and white. And as a teenager, you feel like, you're invincible, or maybe whatever mom holds dear doesn't necessarily apply to me, or that's old school or whatever. And she just wanted to go and have a good time.
Okay.
Right? Go ahead.
There's a difference between going out and having a good time, getting knocked up, whatever.
No, I agree with that.
But I think there's a line between that, and then you cross that line into that guy had more money than one guy should have. I want some of it. Let me call my brother, and we're gonna
Right.
rob and beat
Right.
it.
She still.
So yeah, I can fault her for that.
I'm not saying she's, without blame. I'm just saying, as far as the let's go and have a good time.
Yeah.
At her age makes perfect sense, but you're right. She made other horrendous judgment calls.
Right.
You have to. I don't know. I didn't grow up in places where you didn't have sex education. Thankfully, I grew up where it was actual class in high school. So,
Did you not grow up in Florida?
I did, and we had a sex education classes,
What happened?
and they were in
How did
PE.
that slip by?
I know.
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
They were put in with the PE classes. Don't know. Anyway, but we actually had tests. You had to spell gonorrhea correctly. It was ridiculous.
Oh, I don't think I could do that.
now.
That was my only negative mark. I couldn't spell that damn word to save my life. I still can't spell that damn word to
As
save my
long
life.
as you don't get it, you're fine.
That's right, exactly.
I think that's
what's
the more important test.
I agree.
But
Excuse me, I don't get a gonorrhea test. We can only give it to you if you can spell it correctly.
ain't that the truth? I'd be in deep shit. But maybe there's a disconnect because you're really young, but even at a young age, I knew that, even based on Bible principles, that if you had sex, there's a chance that you're going to be pregnant. It's biology. So
That's true. It depends on the kind of sex.
come on, man. And then once you have it, you have a child, you have a responsibility, whether you like it or not.
That's where I have the problem. If she still wanted to go out and get laid and dance and drink and rob people and whatever, that's fine. But then give up the rights to your kid.
Yeah.
Essentially she did when she ended up in prison, and then
but to her mother, the worst
Bill.
person possible.
I mean, so he ended up with her mom after he ended up with Uncle Bill.
Oh God.
Right? Like they were I mean, the grandma was not the first choice, obviously, but also, can you really blame that nobody in the family wanted little Charlie?
No, I feel bad for him as a little kid.
As a child.
Yeah. I can definitely see where things just kind of went off the rails. And they went off the rails for him so early.
Fairly early.
He didn't have a chance to be a normal human being.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument for that, but I'm sure there are thousands of stories of children that were neglected.
Oh
by
yeah,
young
absolutely.
Parents, by abusive
think
parents that don't become, what Charlie became ultimately.
Right, but they weren't sociopaths. And
right,
right. Yeah. So I mean, if he could have had, let's just imagine that he had.
Ooh, John Lennon's coming in. What?
Yeah. Yes, he's the Beatles. Okay, so that was something that I figured Colette would be all over.
I got it.
All of the Beatles tie-ins, right? Yeah. Do you want to talk about that at all, or no?
I mean, we can, right? That's none of that is new, right? A lot of that, because that was central to Vincent Bugliosi's theory of Helter Skelter. This is the motivation, the reason that Charles Manson started all of this killing and sent his family members to go kill these strangers, was because he wanted to start Helter Skelter and start a race war. And I think what Guinn does is effectively come up with another reason, right? So even though they found Charlie guilty, and the prosecutor said it was because, the Beatles were sending coded messages to the family via the White Album, and that's why they wrote some of the lyrics in blood on the walls of the murder sites. I mean, I think in actuality, it's probably closer to what Jeff Guinn hypothesized, which is, the walls are closing in on him, and he thinks that the Black Panthers are after him. He thinks that these bikers are after him because Bobby Beausoleil sold them methadone and said that it was
mescaline.
Mescaline from Gary Hinman.
From Gary Hinman.
Right.
Right. But he sold it to them as like legitimate drugs. So when everybody got sick, they said, these are bad drugs, give us our money back. And then so you had this drug deal gone bad, and then Bobby Beausoleil ends up killing Hinman and he's so smart. Like, he's from the same school of shit-ass crime 101 as Charlie and his mom and his uncle, where he was like, you know what? I'm going to kill this dude, and then I'm going to steal his car, and I'm going to take the murder weapon, and I'm just going to drive. And we'll see.
In the wheel well, he keeps the murder weapon in the dead guy's car in the wheel well.
And then he says, and then the police show up, so he pretends to be asleep.
I don't know how that got there, man.
Super smart.
Seriously.
I know. And it's like, I was sleeping. I don't know. I don't know how I got here.
The fact that they had him write political piggy on the wall in Hinman's blood and make a little panther paw to make it look like Black Panthers. And then they go out and do these copycat crimes to show the police, look, it couldn't have been Beausoleil because he's in jail, but these crimes are still happening.
Right.
It actually makes...
He even said when one of them said, well, I'm going to go visit Bobby. And he's like, no, leave him there. I'm taking care of it. And that, yes.
It makes a lot more sense than the whole Helter Skelter, the world's going to end, and Manson and his group are going to, rise from the desert and lead everybody.
I mean, it doesn't mean that he didn't think that was a possibility. But we also know that he had lied to the family members many times.
Yes.
To just sort of keep them in his thrall.
Yes.
So it's entirely possible that he didn't believe Helter Skelter. This was just something that he told them so that, when it was time to go to the desert, he can say, oh, it's time for Helter Skelter. We all got to go. Make sure you grab the White Album. I've never thought that the White Album was a great album, personally.
Be sure to grab the White Album. That's Oh, Classic. Oh my God, I love it.
Well, you know, it is not my favorite Beatles album, and
I don't understand what the big damn deal is. I mean,
what do you mean?
About the White Album. I don't know. It's not one of their best stuff. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very eclectic group of songs, but, you know, when you're sort of a sociopath lunatic, obviously some of the songs speak to you.
Yeah, I'm
You
sure.
know, and then when you've got Revolution 9 on there, which, you know, in stereo is terrifying to listen to. I mean,
now I'm going to have to go do that. I need to do that.
Oh God.
have you never listened to it with headphones on?
What?
No, I've never been a big Beatles fan. I mean, I could take them or leave them. It's not. I've never like sought out any Beatle music to listen to.
Well, and it's interesting because the Beatles made such a huge transformation. We could do a whole show on the Beatles, but like Colette likes the older Beatles stuff, like the 70s, right? Late 60s, 70s. But I like the early shit when they did the pop stuff. You know,
they didn't exist in the 70s. I mean, Let It Be came out in April of 1970, and that was the last released album that they had.
Oh, was it?
It happened after that was a solo album.
I thought
So
they
basically
longer.
existed.
When did Revolver come out?
66.
Holy shit!
Huh.
Wow.
Huh.
They created
Also,
a lot of music in a.
I'm amazed that you know that off the top of your head.
Of course,
Yeah,
I do.
right.
They created a lot of music in a very brief period of time.
I don't know why. When did Sgt. Pepper's come out?
67.
What the hell?
No.
Really?
Absolutely. Came out in June of 67.
Oh
and
my.
blew everybody's mind.
God, I was 5 years old. What?
I was a negative.
Wow, I do remember Sharon Tate's murder on television. I remember them reporting it on the news.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Before we go any further, I need to say that 2/3 of us have birthdays this month. Colette already had hers, and Andy's is next week. So,
Friday.
happy birthday to my dear friend.
Thanks.
Because Colette's a bad Libra.
Okay, so we are.
We talking about wait, Colette. I know we're over time, but
yeah,
what were you saying about the Beatles, Colette, before we changed topics?
I don't know.
Oh, well, we were talking about 67. Oh, and how old you were? No, it was 67.
It just feels like it was older, like it was later than that.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that it feels that way is because their music has been so popular constantly, right? Since it came out. I think everybody who has grown up since then, there is a point in their life where they sort of discover them and they start listening to them. And for some people, it was as stuff was coming out at the time, but for most of us, it was later. So for me, it was later. But like the first rock album I ever had was Sgt. Pepper. And I think I was maybe 8 or 9. And it just kind of changed my life. But yeah, the White Album is not a fun album. Revolution 9, Sherry, if you do listen to it, it's not a song. It's on the album. I think it's the next to the last track on side 4.
Okay. Holy shit, you are a Beatles fan. What the hell? Side 4.
So one of the first songs that they cut for the White Album is called Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Not the version of the song that we all know as the flip side to Hey Jude, that hardcore rock and roll version with all the reverb. It's a slow version with a lot of shooby-doo-wops in the background. That's how it was originally recorded. Same song, but very different. And they recorded like a much longer version. It was like 10 or 12 minutes long or something. And there was a lot of just freestyling at the end.
I don't have the patience for that.
Okay.
I'm done.
So when it's time to issue a single while they're recording this album, Paul comes in with Hey Jude, and they're like, you should redo Revolution. And he's like, well, let's just do the version that I recorded. And they're like, no, maybe you could do it fast and better. Which was tough love, really, for John Lennon, because it needed to be fast and better. So that was the flip side to Hey Jude. It's the superior version of the song. But for some reason, they still issued the shooby-doo-wop slow version of it on the album. And that's called Revolution 1. So at this point, John Lennon is under the influence of Yoko Ono, who we could do a whole show on, just Yoko.
Oh, God.
She's very avant-garde and has a lot of opinions. And I am not against women with opinions, as a woman who has a lot of opinions herself.
Right.
But they decide that they're going to create a sound collage. So they take the backing vocal of Revolution 1 and they add a bunch of sound effects to it. And they throw in some random things that they say. There's chants from a soccer game. There's the sounds of fire. There's screams.
Jesus, that's enough to make somebody go crazy right there.
And periodically, they snipped the voice of some EMI guy that said, this is EMI test vocal number 9. And they took number 9 and they replay it on a loop throughout. So it became Revolution number 9. And Revolution 9, if you listen to it, it's terrifying, especially if you listen to it in headphones. Because I was child and I listened to everything on headphones.
Wow.
And that was back when stereo was panning. I don't know if that means anything to you guys.
Yeah. Oh,
Right, because stuff was originally recorded in mono. And then when they stereophized it, or whatever the word is for that, they put everything on the left. And it's like the guitars are all on the left and the vocals are all on the right. And so when you listen to it, there's a voice comes in this ear and says a fucked up thing. And then there's the sound of a car accident in this ear. And so it's pretty creepy. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Again.
It's like 9 minutes long.
I'll listen to the first 5 and then I'm out.
Right.
Okay, so this was a very interesting topic. We could go on and on and on, but we won't. So
We could.
we could, absolutely.
Just putting it out there. I don't have anything.
I have to go to the bathroom really badly. You guys know how I am.
You
once
can
I'm
hit
done, I gotta
pause.
go.
You could
No,
hit
I can't.
Come on, man. Go use the bathroom. We'll keep talking amongst ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so
But
so
wait.
really,
It was a good show. But if you haven't seen Epic's series, watch it. If you haven't read or listened to Jeff Guinn's book, I highly recommend it. Right?
what about Helter Skelter, the book?
Vincent
read
Bugliosi?
that. Yeah.
It's long. It's
Is it
in
worth
depth.
it?
It's very interesting from a prosecutor's perspective.
It is, yeah.
Very legal heavy, as you would expect it to be, because it's really all about the trial and how he compiles the prosecution.
Yes.
I don't know for non-legal people if it is as interesting as, say, this book is, where it really gets into why Charles Manson was the way he was and the various relationships that he had up to and after the crimes. Whereas this book, Helter Skelter, is really all about the trial.
Yeah. I mean, it does have some. It does talk about early stages of, or at least the early, about the group. It does talk about the group, but
that's what
right.
I
It
would
does
love.
focus more on legal heavy. Yeah.
I mean,
I would love to find something that focused on on the women, and what their thought processes were, what they went through. You know what I mean? That
What
was
the
not
hell could their
focused.
thought process be? Give me more drugs so I can have sex with 8 million people a day.
But I think that there had to be more than that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they start
'Cause you
out
don't end
looking
up
for this idealistic,
Yeah.
this love, free love type thing, and they're drawn in by that. But
people
then
don't
it
just end up
yeah,
in cults,
No,
right?
they
And I
don't.
mean, so basically what this book should teach you is that men will take whatever sex they want. They will manipulate women when it benefits them. No matter how weird and freaky and fucked up a dude is, if he offers you sex with some underage girl, most dudes will apparently be like,
cool.
okay. Which is terrifying. But I mean, I think the thing that was freaky then and is freaky now is how damaged people are. Like, you just have no idea who out there is damaged to the point where they're really going to be receptive to a cult. They're really going to be receptive to this dude that they meet at a gas station or this dude that they meet at a bus stop.
Look at the whole Nexium
Yes.
thing that's still going on. You know,
Well, the
that
trial's
kind
going on, right?
of
Or did
the
it just
trial, but
wrap up?
there's still people that
Yeah,
that
we're
still
lured
follow
in.
that dude,
Yeah.
that still believe all of the shit. I mean, shit. Look at Scientology.
Or the
I mean,
Maharishi. I mean,
right.
it's
I mean,
everywhere. It's everywhere.
it is.
I
The
mean, and if
difference.
we really want to talk about like taking advantage of people and sex abuse, we can also throw the Catholic Church in there.
Sure.
And
That's a whole different discussion.
lots
Seriously.
of evangelical.
I think any organized religion that has a hierarchy, I think it would fall under that, because
But
anytime that you have specific, in particular, men in positions of power over impressionable young people, men or women, boys or girls, you have a certain subgroup who will use that for their own benefit. So as long as there's any sort of power structure, particularly talking about religion or any sort of guru-y type thing, where you as the individual don't know everything, and these people up here do. They know. They are here to guide you and to teach you and to help you and to be there for you, and all of that. Exactly. Let me share this. It's grooming just like any other abuse. Exactly.
exactly. That is
Exactly. I mean,
right.
how many other organizations will have parents literally turn their children over to these people and
Monster.
say they need help. Help them.
Yeah.
Cool, I'll help.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also a numbers game too. I mean, you think about it, especially in very large religious organizations, the temptation of the power, the leadership, I'm sure kind of attracts people that don't always have the other folks' best interest in mind, right? I mean, I'm sure that there are lots of folks in organized religion or any other organization that actually have the heart to do good things for other people.
Oh yeah, sure.
There are this other element that don't, and they're the ones who get the most attention, right?
Exactly. But then you also, but it's not just those dudes who are doing the bad things. It's the good dudes
that
who
turn
cover it up or don't.
Up. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not even just like, I'm thinking about Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno.
Oh, Lord, that was awful.
Jim Jordan, fucking, I mean, it's not the people who sometimes are just as much to blame are not the ones who are doing the act, but the ones who avert their eyes and
Yep.
keep their mouths shut.
Yep, you're
Those
absolutely
people are if not as bad, worse.
Yeah,
because they know. Yep. And they don't do anything about it.
Yep. So the takeaway here for me is be on your guard no matter what.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, because ultimately Charlie Manson is not that different from,
Joel Osteen.
See, now all I can think of is Jim Jordan. But no, who was
Matt Getz?
Oh my God! Right?
Jim.
He's not in jail. What the hell?
Jones?
Jim Jones.
Jim Jones. Sure.
Yeah, Jim Jones. Trump.
Yep.
I mean, they're all really, really similar.
You have to have a certain amount of life experience and knowledge and a bit of skepticism. Don't always take what somebody says for the truth. Right?
I feel like that's a really good that's a good place to stop. We don't have time to talk about books for next time.
Not that we have.
Even though I brought some suggestions.
Oh my Lord! But somebody's got to use the restroom.
I know. I'm sitting here dancing around. So I got this one. I have no idea if it's any good. I'm just putting it out there. I got this as an arc.
Tell me that it's a romance.
It is.
Is it really?
Yeah. It is. What happens? What happens when Tinkerbell is in love with both Peter Pan and Wendy? In this dark reimagining of Peter Pan, Peter and Wendy's granddaughter, Hope Darling, finds the reclusive Tinkerbell squatting at the Darling mansion in order to care for the graves of her two lost friends after a love triangle gone awry.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so it's not really a romance, but...
No, it's just like Hope, a fucked up... right? Because Tinkerbell is... a fairy, right?
She is, yes.
A fae, I guess. And,
come on, it comes out on the 26th.
And Wendy was a child.
Oh, they grow up. They grow up.
Okay.
You know. So it says, as Hope wins the fairy's trust, Tink tells her about the tragedy of Wendy and Peter and the terrible part she played in it. Okay, maybe this isn't told in 3 alternating perspectives: past, present, and ex. Oh, Andy's out.
Big no for Andy.
All right, well, I will read it. I will read it, and
you'll have to let us know how terrible it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I will.
Before we fly, everybody have a very happy Thanksgiving. Well, that too, but have a very happy and safe Halloween. And if you haven't checked out Midnight Mass on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's good and scary, but not too scary for Halloween. Makes you think about what we talked about earlier.
It was interesting. When you said you had mentioned that it was kind of slow to start, it was.
It's a slow burn.
The first few episodes, it was kind of like, okay, well, this is interesting. Nothing's really going on, but
very slow burn.
Interesting. But I liked it. Very rarely do I like the way something ends. Like
perfect. But
I really think that they did a great job on the ending, and like you said, it's kind of creepy, but it's not scary.
Yeah, it's thought provoking. You know, it's really thought provoking. Yeah.
It was good. And there's a lesbian in it. So
that's always, the cherry on top.
Okay. So all right. Oh, and then so I got this cool thing. I want to share this because
what the hell is that?
It's my DM's guide, my little DM book. It's supposed to be like from a pulp book cover.
That is cool. Yeah.
The Empress and the Spy Master. In the heat of a
Ooh.
civil war, one empress must not only plan out the affairs of her country, but also the affairs of the heart. And
Mm.
it's two women. As I thought that was good. And then they give a full description of the book on the back.
Wow.
And it's just
I love how it's built out though. The rings
Yeah.
on there. I mean, that's awesome.
this is my, I had this disc binder, and so
Oh, that's just your
this
disc
is
binder.
just the
You come that
cover.
way?
Yeah. So that's the binder, but they do sell actual journals and stuff, but it's specifically they sell stuff specifically for D&D things.
Cool.
And it's on Etsy, and it's called The Orderly Owl and Blushing Badger. So if you're looking for something cool, they have like 9 or 10 different covers that you can get. This was one I really liked. But
what do you think the owl and the badger do?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think they have some kind of relationship?
I don't know.
Okay, just
Yeah,
curious.
I don't know, but they do all kinds of D&D.
Because the
custom
badger is
stuff.
blushing, and what was the owl doing?
Orderly.
Oh, so the owl was just filing things with the Dewey Decimal System.
Right, exactly. And the badger's like in the erotica section. All right, my bladder is going to explode.
All right.
So
Well, okay. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Put any comments you'd like. We enjoy reading them. Subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends. Yeah.
Suggest a book.
Suggest a book.
Suggest a book.
All right.
I would like something a little more fun.
I do too. I put a post out on Facebook to suggest feel good, well written books. So if you have a suggestion, we do have a Facebook page. I've been thinking if anybody wanted to, we could do a group. I don't know. Let us know what you want to do. We're fine. We'll do it. Whatever. Okay. Bye.
So long for now.